Hey guys, this is AI Gaming 1776 playing Assassin's Creed Syndicate with a 980 Ti and 1440p. Now what I'm going to do in this video is show you the best settings for 1440p with a 980 Ti to get a good frame rate and get some good eye candy. And then I'm also going to talk about some thoughts I have on the game and how good of a PC port this is. Spoiler alert, I'm kind of optimistic on how good of a port it is. Now, I'm using a BenQ XL2730Z. It's 16 by 9, 2560 by 1440. Refresh rate set for 144 Hertz. VSync is on. We can turn it off later if we want to. And then these are the settings. Now, the one thing I ask is if you guys could please, if you're just here for the settings and you're going to leave, please like the video on your way out. Because what happens is if you leave the video within the first minute, YouTube assumes you didn't like the video. So by you liking the video, it helps. Alright, so let's look at these settings. For environment quality, I went with very high. Now, just so you know, high looks okay, especially if you're playing at 1080p with a weaker graphics card. High is just fine. Although in 1440p, you kind of want to go with very high. That gives a nice little touch to it. Now, ultra high is the next setting up. So you're only one notch away from the top setting. Textures are on the top setting. You only get low, medium, and high. Shadow quality is, again, one notch away from the top setting. That's the top, PCSS Ultra. So you have low, medium, high, PCSS, PCSS Ultra. And when I'll get out of this screen and I'll show you why I chose these various settings here in a minute. Ambient occlusion, that's SSAO, because HBAO Plus and HBAO Plus Ultra do kind of interfere with the frame rate a little bit. So you have off SSAO, HBAO Plus, HBAO Plus Ultra. Alright, so we're at SSAO. And then I have anti-aliasing off because this game shoves FXAA down your throat. Don't believe me? Look, FXAA, MSAA times 2 plus FXAA, times 4 plus FXAA, TXAA times 2 plus FXAA, times 4 plus FXAA. So basically, you're stuck with FXAA, and there's problems with anti-aliasing in general in this game. I'm not 100% happy with it off. I'm not 100% happy with it on either. Now, the reason I leave it off is, honestly, the game is more vibrant without it. All right, and I'll show you some of this. Okay, so here we are. We are... I'll try not to do any spoilers. We're in the lower southeast part of the map. See southeast? You start out the game up here in the northeast. And the map, unfortunately, does not shrink enough for you to see the whole thing. But this is where we are. Alright, so you go in here. And the reason I went with these settings, and I'm using a camcorder, and I'm trying to get around the camcorder without bumping into it, so please excuse me. But I'm using the camcorder for a few reasons. I tried doing some screen capture footage. Unfortunately, I was on a 60 Hertz monitor to do that, and I can go higher than 60 Hertz as evidenced by this saying 7071. So I figured what I would do is I would just use my 144 Hertz monitor and try to do this with the camera so I can talk to you about the things going on at the screen in real time and with the graphics card working to its full potential. All right. So I went with the PCSS shadows, even though those are probably an NVIDIA technology, because with Evie's outfit, it pays dividends to have shadows as beefed up as you can. All right, she's wearing a black outfit, and there are so many details in it. You have buttons, you have corset lace type deals going on. There's a chain back there. I haven't moved the camera yet for a reason. On her hip here, this is like velvet, and there's black patterns on there. Now you're probably, I don't know if you're going to be able to see it on this video or not. And I'm going to screen capture this also. And that'll be a separate video without commentary, more than likely. Because it's easier to do the commentary when I'm looking on my quote-unquote real monitor. And the XL2730Z is my real monitor for 1440p, if you will. Alright, so then you have whatever the lace situation is going down here. And like I said, this is like velvet, and then there is a pattern in there. It may be hard for you to see, but the better your shadows look, the better that pattern looks. There's a chain right here, and then this is like a corduroy material. Okay, so you have red, and then there's black here in the middle. This that my finger's on, that is like a corduroy material, okay? And this red looks like a corduroy material too down here. Although it looks more like velvet here. So, I don't know. Sometimes in the stripes It looks almost like corduroy in that part of it. But the point being is there's a lot of minute detail in her outfit. Yeah, you can see ridges in it. So I think the red actually does look more like corduroy. And then there's all kinds of embroidery and stitching going on around the edge of it. I'm pointing all this out for a reason. I'll show you here in a second. So you have buckles and straps right here, and it just looks like a collection of different materials and different things that you can see really, really well if you have a nice 1440p monitor and you have a 980 Ti and you're using these settings. And then that's just the back. You know, on the front, you can see so many different things. And right now the sunlight is shining on different parts of her clothing in different ways. The pants look like corduroy here too. So Evie's outfit is actually very, very beautiful. And if you're playing in 1080p or if you're not playing with certain settings, you might not be aware of it. And then there's even like wrinkles in it, the way it's bunched up on her. Her outfit looks very nice. Now I focused on the back because as you play this, you know, third person game, you're pretty much going to be seeing behind her. And as you do that, later I'll walk a little bit, all of this sways, okay? And as it sways on my monitor, I can actually see the details swaying. And I've told you guys before I have ADD. So when I play games, I'm actually, you know, I'm supposed to be running across rooftops, and I'm actually being mesmerized by the buttons and the different kinds of materials and the designs and everything on her outfit. Here, let me zoom in with the camera, actually. There you go. So I'm mesmerized by that, and even the light, because it's kind of like a leathery material up here, and the light reflects off of that as she walks, and as her shoulders move, the light's like swing, 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 swing. And then another thing that shows up really well in 1440p here, I'm trying to get this centered again, if you will excuse me while I do that. All right. So another thing that shows up in 1440p is there is stuff going on in that background. There's a horse and carriage going around the corner. There's two carriages going that way. There's one carriage going that way. There's people crossing the street. There's a ton of stuff to watch. Now, like I said, I use no AA because FXAA dulls the game. And the game is already kind of dull looking as it is. Here, I'm about to turn the FXAA on. I'm just trying to position myself before I do it. Oh, that's the Assassin's A. Look at that. How clever. All right. Oh, by the way, it almost looks like there's a Tress Effects type deal on the hair. It doesn't look like generic video game hair. It's pretty good looking hair. All right. So let's turn on the FXAA. And again, you're watching a camcorder or look at a screen, so it may not be as obvious for you, but we're going to try. So let's turn on the FXAA. And it doesn't look too bad. It's a little bit fuzzed out, just a little bit, because FXAA does that, as we all know. But the thing is, if I don't have any anti-aliasing on, if I don't have it on at all, what I have to put up with is the fact that there is a ton of stuff. Like you can see all kinds of jaggies on these pipes. You can see them on different buildings. Now, for what it's worth, the jaggies are there, but as I play the game, I normally don't notice. They did a really good job on the characters. So while I'm looking at her, and even while I'm looking at all the stuff during the actual gameplay, I don't notice the jaggies so much. I mean, I know they're there, but they don't bug me. Although I see them, like especially with these buildings, and as I move back and forth, there's that kind of like a shimmer, so that's kind of annoying. But the thing is, oh, real quick, with these settings, and I should have said that for the people who have already left, if they just wanted to see the settings and leave, I should have said this sooner. I get between 50 and 80 frames per second with these settings. Now, one of the reasons why I'm using this monitor as opposed to, see my game, whenever I want to capture gameplay, I use a second computer so I can get the performance. So what's going to happen is if I use this computer that's playing the game, if I use this computer to record the footage, it can sometimes affect the performance, even if it's just a little bit. Even if it's just like 2 to 5 frames per second or whatever, it can affect it a little bit. And I try not to do that. So I use a second computer almost exclusively. The problem is when I do that, I'm capped at 60 FPS. And on that computer, when I'm doing that, a lot of times it's bouncing between 52 and 60 frames per second, whereas here we've been above 60 most of the time. I say most of the time. I'm going to go to a little bit more demanding of a place though, so let's do that. Yeah, let's try this. So we'll fast travel to there. And I'll show you some more of the settings and everything, but I typically get 50 to 80 frames per second. Now, while this is loading, let me tell you, I think this is probably, and I'm optimistic, you know, it's not perfect, but I think this has potential to be a good PC port. I'm serious, like a good one. Not just good for Assassin's Creed, not just good for Ubisoft, but a good PC port. I think the potential is there. Now maybe it's going to need a patch or something like that. I don't know. I don't know what it's going to take, but I think it has a really good chance of being good. Let me turn the sound down. All right, the sound does distract me when it's on. You guys probably can't even hear it that much. Now, as we're right here, this engine does a really, really good job of making things crisp. And it does 3D spatial awareness and separation and things like that really, really well. So even when I'm doing something as simple as this scene right here, and I know the scene's not impressive. Let me look in the camera. Yeah, it's not a necessarily impressive scene, but I can tell in the viewfinder, at least as I look through the viewfinder now, I don't know how it's going to look when I upload it to YouTube. You can tell that these items are very, very separated, right? They pop to a certain extent. And that's something I very, very much like in games. And this engine has that in spades. I'll show you that in a couple spots. But first, I'm going to climb up here. Going up and down structures is a hassle in this game, and I don't like that too much. That actually is really annoying. There's times that the characters refuse to go up, or they refuse to go... I mean, just refuse, right? It's like, I can't go up, I can't go down. What do? I'm stuck. So that's pretty annoying. Now, I don't know, here, I'm looking through the viewfinder again. I don't know if this is going to do it justice. Let me spin around and see if I can. I'm not going to find anything, so I'm going to go with the best I can do. All right. So, you're not going to see this so well on the camera, but I'm able to comment on it as I chill right here. So, here, let me turn VSync off, because it's stuck at 60 for some reason, and I'm wondering what it would do if VSync was off. So let me do that. I normally play the game with VSync on, but I haven't really had screen tearing with it off. Okay, I turned it off just now. We're still at 60, which is really interesting. This game sometimes likes to put itself at 60 even with VSync off. I mean, it could just randomly be at 60, but that is very random if it is. We're on a 144 hertz monitor, so that, you know, wouldn't even make sense anyway, but there we are. See? Well, 61 now. All right, so anyway, on the 1440p monitor, you can see so much with the draw distance. It's ridiculous. These buildings way out here, you can see their individual windows. Window, 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 like hundreds of windows. You get maybe even thousands. Seriously. There's a lot of little details. On this building right here, you can see the pillars. There's like a guardrail that goes around it, and you can see the stone pillars and the guardrail. You can see all of these individual smokestacks, and you can make it out. You can make them out like these are individual smokestacks, and they look really, really good. And then again, this engine is really good as you move the camera around at having things where they should be. Now, this is the River Thames over here, and the first time I ever saw it was when I was on top of this building, because this is a sync point. So I got up here, and I saw the River Thames, and I'm going to tell you what I did. I wanted to know if I could go over to it. I saw all those boats on it, and I was like, can I go over there? And I made my way over there, and it was just even better than I had hoped for. Because yes, you can go over there, as I can show you. Yes, you can go over there. And you can even go into the river and jump from boat to boat. And it's really cool. It's really, really fun. Here, let me get down off of this building. Now, there's a slide mechanic. I don't remember if other Assassin's Creeds had this or not. First of all, I've not played every Assassin's Creed. Second of all, the one that I played the most of is Black Flag. And I don't remember that one having a slide mechanic. I don't know if I'm going to be able to invoke it. Probably not. But we'll see what we can do. Okay, so this is one thing that's really annoying with the controls. Right here. Is I'm trying to... There's a thing of leaves down there. And I want to do a leap of faith. And Notice how I've not yet done a leap of faith? Yeah. All right, there we go. And it is very often on that particular leap of faith that it fails. And I'll be trying to do it and it won't do it. And it's very annoying. Now, another thing I do like in the game is there's all kinds of signage in the game. All right, see that? How it says trader. Go over here, it says solicitors, bankers. As you walk through here, there's a whole lot of signage and it looks really good. Now, the time of day that we're dealing with right now, the sun isn't shining on that signage. So let me try to run down here and find a building where the sun shines on it. Because right now, it's kind of obscured by shadows. Oh, there's a lot of different assassin animations. There's a bunch of them. So it takes a while to see all of them. I think I've seen them all now because I've seen, you know, a lot of repeats. But when you run up on people, you can flip them over onto the ground and then stab them as they lay on the ground. Really? All right, got him. Eevee's combat, not so great. All right, so as I look for a building where the sun is shining on the signage properly, and I still need to go over to the river. I need to go do that. But as I look for a building, I'm going to tell you why I think this is a good PC port. First of all, can you max it out with the 980 Ti and 1440p and get 60 frames per second? No, you cannot. But it looks good nonetheless. And a lot of people have admitted that. All right, here we go. Here we go. Matter of fact, let's pause, go to the settings, look at those real quick, and then, because I'm going to talk about the signage on that building. All right. So the thing is, it's almost maxed out, okay? Environmental quality is one notch away. Textures are maxed out. Shadows are one notch away. Okay, fine. Ambient occlusion, it's not there. Now, let me turn on MSA times 2 and show you it's going to be about 50 frames per second. Keep in mind, shadows are almost maxed, textures are maxed, environment quality is almost maxed, and ambient occlusion is on. And then we're still running MSA times 2. All right. So we're pretty close to maxing the game out. It says 60 frames per second, but when I start moving, it should go into the 50s. So one thing I like is, I talked about this earlier, everything pops. So this carriage, this character, obviously my character, Eevee Fry. So carriage, character, buildings, all popping. Flag pop, the lettering right here. That lettering is pretty much the same color as the building. And on a lesser engine, there would be a very real chance that that sign would not pop from the building. You see what I mean? It's the same color as the building. And really, the only thing it's got is a little bit of shadowing around the letters, and yet it pops nonetheless, even though it's the same color as the building. And that's because this engine does a really, really good job of separating items. It does a great job of foreground and background. Now, I've got some spots in another video that I made where I was trying to show that off, but I'm not going to post that video. It's a long story. There were some flubs. I'm not going to post it. I'm going to try to find some spots in this. I'm doing live commentary, obviously, because I'm pointing at the screen. And when you do live commentary, there are chances for mishaps. All right, see, we're at 54 frames per second. Like I said, it goes into the 50s with MSAA on, which is not, you know, that's not the end of the world. That's not the worst thing ever. So here we are, 52 frames per second, going around the corner, 48 frames per second. All right, that's the 40s now. The 40s, those are not great, but you know, life happens. By the way, let me do a quick little experiment. I've been having some fun with this lately. Everyone always talks about average frames per second. I gotta make sure I remember how to do this. I think it is F11. Yep, there we go. So for the next minute, this thing is going to be calculating the average frames per second, and we're going to see what the average is. Now, if you notice, there's no number over here. After the minute is up, a number will pop up, and we're going to see what the average was. Keep in mind, though, we were getting between 48 and 54 frames per second with MSAA times 2 on. Even with the shadows on, the signage still pops from the building. Not shadows on, but even with the sky having an overcast, shadowy look to it. It's starting to get kind of overcast and foggy. Okay, this building, if the sun was shining on it, would be a great example. There's so much signage on it. Let me move. Okay, signage. There's two signs, a little one and a little one. Offices, insurance. And also we're waiting for that frames per second thing to pop up. So offices, insurance, solicitors. Whoa. And then that says Steric and Company. So all of that popped. 63 was the average. Of course, there was, you know, like, we're getting in the 70s when we're aimed up here. So we'll do it here. We'll do it again here in a minute. That's kind of skewed. All right, so you come around this corner, and one of the cool things is these old-timey corner buildings, whatever they're called, they look really good because the motion looks really, really good in this engine. Now, it's becoming nighttime really, really fast, like ridiculously fast. And actually, this is not a bad section for it to become nighttime. Let me look in the viewfinder. Yeah, that actually doesn't look that bad for you guys either. Here, as you see all... Ooh, hey, buddy. You want stabbed? All right. So you see the lamps right there, and then there's lamps on the carriages, and then there's lamps going down the street. You got a couple carriages over here with lamps, and the lighting in the game is actually really good. So a lot of people, some people say the port is a good port, this PC game. Here, let me hit F11 again. There's a good chance that now that it's nighttime, we're actually going to have a high frame rate, though. So I'm going to try to run around. There's nice reflections over here. Nice reflections, nice windows with lights on. Just everything looks really good. Everything pops away from each other. All the different items. I like the buildings like this. See how it says Taylor? Right here you can like climb right on up this sign. I mean, climbing a building in Assassin's Creed is nothing new, but I like climbing the signage. Now I'm probably going to skew the average frames per second now. I'm probably going to make them go up because I'm going up here. And when you angle at certain things up here, it does make the frame rate go higher. Alright, and actually while I'm up here, this is kind of a good place to show off some of that motion and pop that I was talking about. How I said in another video I'd found a good spot. Yeah, this is going to be a good spot. But I am going to keep running around here for a second while the frame rate counter is trying to find an average for me. And I got to keep looking at that corner while I do it. 78. Yeah, because we're in the 80s up here. This is with MSA times 2 are in the 80s. And this is one of the reasons why I wanted to use this monitor. Now, when I do screen capture footage, and forgive me for bouncing around in this conversation, I use a separate computer and I use an Elgato, which is just fine. The problem is it caps it at 60 FPS. And whenever I use an Elgato, my gaming computer just tends to believe that I've hooked myself up to a 60 hertz monitor. So even though this is a 144 hertz monitor, when I'm using my Elgato, it says, oh, okay, well, you have a 60 hertz monitor. So I wouldn't be able to show you the 48 to right now 74 frames per second swing. I wouldn't be able to accurately show that if I was doing the screen capture footage right now, and I apologize for that. So as we're up here, and obviously it's going to look better during the daytime, and here we are at night. It still looks good though. As you move the camera, it moves very, very smoothly, very nicely, and all of the objects, all of the smokestacks, all of the buildings, all of these different buildings, and it helps that they're of different heights. The buildings are different heights, so it adds to the effect. All of the objects look really, really good as you move the camera around. And that's one of the things I really, really like about this engine. So let me get down here and try to get the frame rate down again. Matter of fact, let me fast travel. We'll go over to the River Thames, we'll cheat, and we'll fast travel. So let me go back to why I think this is good PC port. And actually, let me back up a little more, because some people have said they think it's a good port. Some people have said they have not. Some people have said it's optimized well. Some people have said it's not. And here's what I think is happening. With PC gaming culture right now, if you can't max a game out, well, then it's just not well optimized. That's what we say. That is our attitude. And I don't know if that's a smart attitude, and I'll tell you why. To me, see, we all say Grand Theft Auto is well optimized, and you can max Grand Theft Auto out with a GTX 960. You can max out all the regular graphics, and then you can even run MSA times 2 with a 960. And for some people, it'll play around 60 frames per second. For some people, it'll play in the 40s and 50s. But that's still not bad considering it's a GTX 960, right? A $200 graphics card with 2 gigabytes of VRAM. So we say Grand Theft Auto 5 is well optimized. Now, to be fair, I think it is well optimized. It's very well optimized. However, let me add this though. I almost think Grand Theft Auto 5 only looks good when it's maxed out. You see what I mean? Like, yeah, it's nice that you can max it out, but I almost only think it looks good maxed out. I almost don't think it looks good if you have it on lower settings. Like, I have to have shadows on very high in that game. I have to have textures on very high in that game. Although if you're using a 2 gigabyte GTX 960 and you choose very high textures, I'm pretty sure that it's really only loading the high textures. And I know someone's probably going to argue that, but I've looked at them back and forth quite a lot, and I'm pretty sure that in 1080p, the 2 gigabyte GTX 960 really only loads the high textures. But even then, it looks okay. I feel like Grand Theft Auto needs a lot of things pretty much maxed out for it to look good. All right? So it's this catch-22, because this is a game right here. How do you sabotage this? This is a game right here that looks good even when it's not maxed out. We are not maxed out right now in 1440p with the 980 Ti, but it looks good, right? Even with the GTX 960, again, you cannot max this game out in 1080p. It's not going to happen, even if you have a 4 gigabyte GTX 960. However, it still looks good not maxed out in 1080p with a 960. Another thing, the GTX 745, it's the graphics card that actually came with my computer. It's a graphics card that comes with pre-built computers from OEMs like Dell, HP, Lenovo. A lot of those companies sell pre-built computers with the GTX 745. And like I said, that's what this one came with. So I tried this game out with it, and it was okay. I had to play in 720p, but it actually looked good in 720p. I could play it on the high preset in 720p, and yeah, it was only 30 frames per second. And no, I wouldn't say it was better than the consoles, but it was still doable, right? It was still not bad. And I don't even think Unity, you could play Unity with the GTX 745 and 720p, but it still sucked. And this sucked less, if that makes sense. With the 745, this game sucked less, which I know that's may not sound like a ringing endorsement. It's like, AI Gaming 1776 says this game sucked less. Well, it does. It sucks less than Unity. Unity sucked a lot. So, point being, is this game well optimized or not? Let's go with not. Let's say it's not, because even, I expect more out of the 960, and you really have to turn some stuff down to keep 60 frames per second with this on the 960. You can play this on the high preset with the 960. Let me show you what the high preset looks like. So let's go to video. I'm not going to enact it, because if I did, I'd have to restart the computer. Not the computer, but the game, and I'm not going to do that. High preset is environment quality on high, textures on high, which is as high as they go, shadows on high, ambient occlusion SSAO, which is actually what we have now, and then FXA times 2. That preset will play on the 960. Wait a minute, we are not running FXAA. Why did it say that? Let's get out of here. See, we're running this. All right. That high preset will run on the GTX 960, but it'll be about 45 frames per second. So it's not ideal. By the way, if you haven't noticed, we've been getting a pretty good frame rate with MSAA times 2 on this whole time. If you don't mind how FXAA like kind of fuzzies and dulls things, then you can play it with the settings right here. You can play it with these settings right here, including MSAA times 2. All right? That's not too bad. But still, I would like it if this could do the high preset and stay at least in the 50s. But it's pretty much in the 40s. It can go into the 50s and 60s with the GTX 960. See, look, this is one of those times I wanted to jump from ship to ship, and the game just would not do what I wanted it to do at all. And I didn't want to climb this. What are you doing? I don't want to climb that. So that is one of the frustrations, is this game, the control, I don't know if it's better than other Assassin's Creed games or not. Some people have said it's an improvement. I still find myself frustrated pretty often when I play it. So it sucks less than Unity, and I would like the 960 to be able to play the high preset at least in the 50s for frames per second, and not be stuck in the 40s for the most part. I would like that. So we can argue maybe it's not optimized as well as it could be, but at the same time it looks good. All right, and that goes back to the thing. To me, as long as a game looks good, let's say for sake of argument that the way the game looks right now, I could make it look like this by putting everything on the low preset, right? On the low preset, but it would look like this. So people would be like, oh my God, you can only play this on the low preset with a 980 Ti. To which I would say, yeah, that does suck. But if it looked like this, you would have to make the argument that, okay, yeah, it's on the low preset, but look how good low looks. So here's what I think. All right, let's look at these settings again. Here's what I think. If not the next graphics cards that come out from NVIDIA, then the ones after those, I think more and more people will be able to max the game out. All right, so that puts it on, I say this game, it's got a, how do you say, maybe trajectory is not the right word, but I feel like this game has about a 2-year shelf life for actually looking good, right? Nobody points to Unity as a game that actually looks good right now. Unity does not have that distinction. For what it's worth, when you max Unity out, there are some sections, and I've been meaning to do a video, there are some sections that actually do look really good. But as a whole, Unity's not anywhere near as impressive as this game is, as on a whole. So I think that this game is going to be looked at as a good-looking game within this next 2-year window. Now, it might take more people upgrading their graphics cards, because there's probably a lot of people playing this on 660s and AMD cards and basically 1, 2, and 3, maybe even 4-year-old graphics cards, right? But as people upgrade their graphics cards, and as this game comes down in price, and as people pick it up on a Steam sale, I think it will gain a reputation ultimately as a good-looking game and maybe even a good PC port. That's what I think is going to happen. All right, now I happen to be able to play this with a 980 Ti on a very nice 1440p monitor, the XL2730Z, which I think honestly is a really good-looking monitor. It's TN, it looks cartoony. I've used the Acer Predator XB270HU. I used it for an entire month. This does not look like that. This does not look like an IPS monitor, okay? But it's still a beautiful monitor that does a great job of showing off all the details. By the way, I said in my review of the Acer XB270HU, I said that the reason why I ultimately prefer the BenQ monitor, and notice that I'm doing this video with the BenQ and not the Acer, the reason why I prefer this monitor is because with this monitor and the ADD that I have, I can see details in so many places right now. Whether it's her and her clothing, which I talked about earlier, or the girders and the rivets, or there's like there's these round things in the girders up here, and there's little intricate patterns going on in there. There's like clover patterns going on in the handrail up here. I can see the individual bricks in the wall over here. So I like this monitor quite a lot. You know, in case anybody's mildly curious or wondering or anything like that, I like this monitor quite a lot. So I'm getting to play this game now with a 980 Ti on a monitor that shows off a lot of details such as this, and I am witnessing the beauty of this game now. And I have seen other people on YouTube and on Twitter and so on who have said, yeah, this game looks good on PC. Now, I've also had a lot of people, I've had people comment on my own videos, because I've actually posted several videos of this game, none with commentary, but I've posted several videos of this game. Oh, by the way, here we are with the suns shining on the buildings and the signs and everything, like I was wanting earlier. And it just is very nice. It's very pleasing. Let me turn the AA off, though, because in case we forget, this is how I really play, with AA off. And it just makes everything more vibrant and pop, and the red in the bricks is less dull, and it's just, to me, this is the lesser evil, right? There's still aliasing, there's still jaggies that I dislike, but this is the lesser evil. So anyway, I'm getting to play this. Oh, I was saying that I have comments on my videos, and some people, they think this is a good looking game, and they think this runs really well. And they say, okay, sure, you got to turn the settings down on the 960, but it still looks good. So there are people who already say this is a good looking port, but then there are other people who say, you know what, it's unacceptable that a 980 Ti cannot max this out in 1440p, or it's unacceptable that some other graphics card cannot max this out in 1080p, and so on. So in their mind, that makes this a bad port. And like I said, I think what's going to happen is over time, people are going to get to play this game. And I run with the camera sideways, by the way, just so I can like watch the sunlight dance off the buildings and watch the flagpoles coming out and the signage. There is a ton of jaggy lines right here. All right, like I said, this is, to me, this is the lesser evil. It's still, anti-aliasing kind of sucks in this game. There is no option that I love. Although if you notice, now our frame rate is almost always going to be in the 50s or better. You can almost say this frame rate's almost always going to be in the 60s when I play this way. And it can go, matter of fact, if I climb this building, chances are really good we're going to go up into the 80s. So let's try that real quick. And remember, see, we're already in the 70s. As you do stuff like this, it makes your frame rate go higher. I say this in a lot of videos. 86, 87, 80, 90. 90, ladies and gentlemen. The more skybox you have on the screen, the higher the frame rate goes. So let's cling to this real quick. 95, 96, 96 frames per second. And then you go look at the ground. It's still 80, 81. Yeah, okay, now it's 65. Lot of swinging there. A lot of swinging in the frame rate. Hey, matter of fact, let's jump off this building. Here, let's start getting another average while we're doing this. So I think this is going to be considered to be a good PC port. I'm optimistic about that. Now, there is something that could trip it up though, and that is patches. And let me explain. Far Cry 4. I got that game in I think January of 2015. Because I didn't start PC gaming until January of 2015. Far Cry 4 is one of the first games that I picked up. Oh my goodness, as we get stuck on a horse. Alright, so I get Far Cry 4. And in January, before the DLC started coming out for Far Cry 4, in January of 2015, keep in mind, I know in 2014 when the game launched, supposedly it ran badly on PC, but it had been patched by then. And so in January of 2015, the game played really well. And I could even use NVIDIA soft shadows with a GTX 970 and keep 60 frames per second. Back then I was playing on a 60 hertz monitor, period. So I could keep a solid 60 frames per second. Oh man, I missed what the average was. Unfortunately, it's a blink and you miss it kind of deal. So let's do that again. Alright. So Far Cry 4, rock solid. It was almost maxed out. Like, I turned some things down, like I didn't like the God rays, I didn't like a few other things, so I had some stuff turned off. And for shadows, yeah, those were on the soft shadows, NVIDIA soft shadows. So Far Cry 4, rock solid, 60 frames per second, almost maxed out, using the fur, the NVIDIA fur, because I think it looks good in that game, or it's like the best looking option and so on. I was using HBAO, all these NVIDIA technologies and so on in that game. And Far Cry 4 was a rock solid 60 frames per second. Well, then the DLC started coming out in January or February at some point in time. And as a result, soft shadows have never worked again for me. It broke. Whatever they did, whatever patch Ubisoft did for Far Cry 4 broke soft shadows. And 61 frames per second was my average just now. So whatever it is that NVIDIA did broke Far Cry 4, and to this day, in November 2015, it's the end of November 2015, it's coming up on Thanksgiving, to this very day, Far Cry 4, I have to have the shadows on very high. I don't like them on ultra. I can put them on ultra, that's not an issue, but I have them on very high. Something about the ultra shadows, just it darkens out too many things. But point being, Ubisoft patched the game and now you can't even pick the same settings anymore. If you want to completely max the game out and use soft shadows and everything, it's going to affect your frame rate. There's going to be a pretty huge penalty for that. So I say I'm optimistic. All right. If Ubisoft doesn't screw the pooch, I'm stuck again. You know, I've told you I get stuck sometimes. There we go. All right. So if Ubisoft doesn't screw the pooch, if Ubisoft can get their crap together and give this a couple good patches to make it, you know, run even better, but then not give it a patch that breaks it, because it's very likely they could give it a patch that makes it run worse than what it does right now, right? If they do that, then shame on them. I'm trying to get away from these dudes. I guess I could do combat, but I'm trying to actually go jump on a smokestack over here is what I'm focused on. Hey, this looks pretty good in here. They don't really have a whole lot of building interiors in this game compared to Unity, and that was one nice thing about Unity, is the building interiors, they were actually pretty cool for the most part. Hey, what the heck? Oh, there's stairs. Look at that. It pays to rotate the camera. So is there oh, there is a treasure chest. Look at that. I was going to say, they need to make it worth all this. So I am optimistic. I am optimistic that this is going to end up being a good PC port. It has potential to be a borderline great PC port. Like where we are right here actually is a great time for me to say that. All right. Remember what I said about how everything pops and separates and looks really good? So these ropes are popping and they're separating and they're looking really good. And then there's like a window washer thing right there. And then there's these yellowish bricks over here. And then there's these red ones. And when you go over to these red ones, there is so much intricacy over here. There's ridges here. And then there's different kinds of stonework here. By the way, it's completely annoying me, the jaggy lines right now. I told you, lesser of evils. See, let's turn on MSA. Because that is really annoying me. All right. So it seems to pop less now, right? It seems to like be flattened down. I know people have listened to my videos before and they're like, you say these things pop and they don't really pop. And I see it. By the way, you may be able to notice in this video, you notice how the monitor fits the frame in this weird way? The reason is, or fills the frame in this weird way, the reason is I actually take my TN panels, because remember, TN panels, they have a narrow viewing angle, and I tilt them down by a lot. So I've been wondering if maybe when I say that I see things pop on the screen, and other people are like, well, when I play the game, I don't see it pop. Maybe that has something to do with it. You see, especially if you're playing on a TN panel, and a lot of people do play on TN because those are, you know, it's 2015. Oh, intricate stuff all in here. Intricate. There, all kinds of different stuff right here. And this is one of those things where like you might just be like casually going through here or never go through here and you wouldn't even come across it. This is all pretty nice. Anyway, I use monitor arms. Okay, I'm using just some cheap, I assume, Chinese. These aren't even name brand monitor arms, okay? I got them off Amazon, but they're like Korean monitor arms or something, all right? Like, I don't even know the name brand. I literally don't. They came in like a plain cardboard box, all right? Like, I don't even think they are a name brand. So anyway, I got my monitors on monitor arms, and I tilt them. The one up here, I'm going to tilt this back. I have another monitor up there. That's my 60 hertz monitor that I do my game capture stuff with. That's what the Elgato's hooked up to. That one has a comical tilt to it. I mean, it is comedic. If you were to come to my home and look at how much the monitor up there is tilted, it's comedic. So, I mean, I'm looking at that. That's got to be a good 20-degree tilt. And I don't know if that affects how much... Ooh, we just went into the 40s for the frame rate. But remember, MSAA is on. So I don't know how much of the fact that I have the monitor tilted affects the fact that I see the pop, but I definitely see pop on the screen. And when I call it out, I see it. I've got better things to do than imagine I'm seeing pop or lie about it or pretend or... Like, I'm definitely seeing it there. And then I've had people in the comments, they're like, oh, I see it too. But, you know, I've had other people in the comments say that, no, things don't pop on the screen, but they do. Anyway, I digress. Here we go with more sunlight on this building with the signage. There's red, white, and blue signage. And then there's the flower pots. Let me turn MSA off though, because I feel like those would pop more if I did. Oops, there we go. Kind of. The lighting is kind of weird. So the lighting at night looks really good in the game. The lighting during the day looks really good in the game. But then in between the night and in between the day, like this looks milky. And I don't like that. So right now the buildings don't look fantastic. They're kind of faded and milky looking. And sometimes the game downright looks foggy. I think when I fast traveled earlier, I said it was like, oh, it's starting to look foggy or whatever, so I'm going to fast travel. I know I did that at least once, and I think this is like my 18th take for this video. So in one of my takes, I definitely talked about how it looked foggy, and it looks like real milky down there. So this is one of those games where the lighting looks good at certain times of day, and then at other times it's not impressive whatsoever. It's okay, it's serviceable, I suppose, but it's not impressive. It's kind of like The Witcher 3. The Witcher 3 has super excellent lighting at certain times of night and super excellent lighting at certain times of day, but then it kind of looks like crap at other times. And that annoys me. I like it when my games look good all day and all night. And I'm trying to remember what game I've played recently that looks good all the time. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't matter what time of day it is. It's got a dynamic day-night cycle. It doesn't matter what time of day it is. It always looks good. I appreciate the games that do that. So, let me see. You know what? I do want to fast travel over here. I'm about to wrap this video up. If you guys are still watching, I appreciate you watching my videos. I really do. I don't know if you guys know this. I just hit 1,000 subscribers 2 weeks ago tomorrow. And I'm already up to 1,120 something. So in 2 weeks, I've gone up more than 100 subscribers, which if I was on that pace this whole time, I would have hit 1,000 subscribers way sooner than I did. I started actually posting videos to this channel in January of this year. I had videos posted prior, but as far as like actually doing it on a regular basis, that was around January of this year. And at that time, I think I had about 48 subscribers or something. And here it is November, and we're at 1,100. So to put on 120 some odd subscribers in less than 2 weeks, that's pretty good. All right, so one thing that this game does really well is it does the foreground and the background very well. Like there's a building way back there, and it still looks good even though it's way back there. It goes back to the whole motion thing that I talked about earlier and the whole spatial awareness and how things are in relation to one another. This game is a joy to run through. It really is. I will say this. I think it would look better if you could do MSAA without the FXAA. I think it would look better. And I have one small reason why I think they don't let you do that. This is like my guess. All right, so let's turn it back on. Even when you have two forms of AA on, the truth is, they're still jaggies. Up there where I'm pointing here. Let me look in the viewfinder. Yeah. Up there, they're still jaggies. Right there. Even with two forms of AA on. I'm thinking because so many buildings have bricks on them, and there's so many buildings which are, you know, kind of boxy, and they're city blocks and everything. I think there are so many lines for the game to take care of that it can't anti-alias all of them. That is the only reason I can think of that they force you to have two forms of AA. Because even with two forms of AA, there's still, like, that's not even that far away. So right here, that's anti-aliased fairly well, okay? But over here, that's jaggy. I can tell it's jaggy right now. Just look, it's shimmering as I sit here and look at it. Yeah. I just held my head perfectly still because I was like, well, maybe it's my fault because I'm moving my head. No, that still shimmers. So the only thing I can think of why they force you, and look, see how we're at 54 frames per second? I had it over here. Now it's at 50. With these settings, with MSAA times 2 on, expect to play around 50, and it'll go in the 40s. You know, it just will. Some parts of the game are more demanding than others. See, now we're in the 40s. Now we're in the 50s. So anyway, they're still jaggies, and if the game could be played with MSAA without FXAA, I would probably play it that way, if it could be. Now, for what it's worth, I don't know what they did in Unity, but the Unity actually looked fairly okay with FXAA on. I played Unity with FXAA, and I did not hate it. As a matter of fact, in Unity, I didn't even like MSAA in that game. It's why, I don't know. That would be its own little spiel to get into, and this video is already probably longer than most people would watch. All right, so anyway, I'll try to wrap this up. Again, if you're still watching, I appreciate you guys watching. I really appreciate the people who listen to what I have to say about these videos. And, you know, in some ways, I'm like, you know, it's just little old me. You know, this is a very tiny channel. 1,000 subscribers is still nothing compared to people with tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands or millions of subscribers. And then, you know, even if you get past subscribers and you look at views, some of my videos, I have videos with 50,000 views. I have one video with 500,000 views. That's one weird video that kind of went viral. And then I have videos with, you know, like 3,000 views, and I have videos with 80 views. It's all over the place. So, you know, it is little on me. And when people listen to these videos, it is meaningful to me. I do appreciate it. You know, I do. So thank you very much for watching these videos. Thank you very much for sticking with me. And, you know, there's a lot of you guys where if, like, for this game, I've probably put up somewhere between 6 and 10 videos with no commentary. And it was really a Star Wars Battlefront video that people asked about it the most. But, you know, I have people that ask, like, where's your commentary videos? You know, like, they want that. And I know some people don't, and I mix it up. You know, I have some videos that are short, some videos that are long, some videos that have commentary, some that don't. Because I understand that not everybody wants to hear me ramble. But anyway, if I wrap it up, by the way, this looks really good here. It's faded out because FXAA is on. But the signage, I love the signage on the buildings and the flags and everything. Ubisoft nailed it with this engine and making simple things a pleasure to look at. Like, they really deserve props for that. This is the kind of game that you can fire up and just run around in. And if you're into this stuff like I am, it can kind of be hypnotic and, I don't know if I want to say de-stressing, but, you know, like, if you're the kind of person where you noodle around in a game like this and get treasure chests or whatever and run around looking for collectibles, all right, this dude needs to bounce. Then this game can do that for you. It's pretty enjoyable. Now, combat with Eevee, just so you know, is needlessly difficult. I've learned how to do it, okay? I've learned how to do it, but I died a lot learning how to do it. When you use... See, I have a more upgraded weapon with her than I do Jacob. And with Jacob, combat is just so much easier. Anyway, there's a bunch of people trying to attack me, but I was trying to show you even something like this. There's a lot of intricacy to it. Alright. What is happening? Why? I'm not doing anything to her. You hear me? Okay. So I kept going in and out of stealth mode instead of attacking her. You heard me like hammering on the button just now, and my character was like bobbing up and down and touching her head. Instead of attacking that bad guy, she kept going in and out of stealth mode. So yeah, that is one thing that is really annoying about this game, is sometimes you get stuck on the environment still, as has been an issue in Assassin's Creed games for years. And then even in this event right here, I was trying to attack that person and it didn't happen. Couldn't do it. Alright, so I basically shown you guys all I'd set out to show you. I wanted to show you the settings and the performance. Are we on MSAA? Because my frame rate's at 50. Yes. Let's turn that off. Whoop. Off. Alright, remember, very high, PCSS, SSAO, off. That is the custom preset that I use. So, I wanted to show you guys the performance. I wanted to show you guys some of the things that I like about the game. I want to talk about some of the things I didn't like. And I wanted to tell you, my prediction is, as long as they don't screw this up with a patch, this game is going to go down as a good port. Especially as people get stronger graphics cards. Now, for the last couple minutes, the neighbor's dog has been barking, and I have my window open because this is California, and you can have your window open in November, and it's just fine. So I apologize for the dog barking if that's been a distraction, because it's just now starting to distract me. Oh, do you see that? How I flipped that dude over and then stabbed him on the ground? That is one of the many killing animations in this game. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. This has been AI Gaming 1776. Please like and subscribe and all that jazz. Obviously, it all really helps out, and I do appreciate you guys. Now, I have not done a thank you for the 1,000 subscribers video yet because I don't know what would be an appropriate way to thank you guys for this channel. You know, like a lot of the videos that gain traction on this channel are demonstrations of products like Dyson vacuum cleaners. My Dyson videos, they go hard, man. Like, you search for certain Dyson models and I'm the first page, right? Which is crazy. Little old me. But anyway, a lot of it is product demonstrations, graphics card demonstrations, things like that. So I don't really know what would be appropriate. Like, I don't know, unless I demonstrated a Lamborghini or something. I haven't quite figured it out yet. I do appreciate you guys. I haven't made the video showing it yet, but I do. Because I haven't figured it out. If you guys have some ideas, let me know in the comments. I would be willing to entertain those. But anyway, thank you so much for watching, guys. Hopefully this video has been helpful for you or informative or, you know, just something worthwhile for you to watch. And, you know, one of the reasons I am posting it is just in case this game does go down, is being viewed as a great PC port, I would like to be able to point at this video and say, hey, man, back, let me see what date it is. Back on November 22nd, 2015, your boy AI Gaming 1776, he had that to say. That very thing. He said this was going to go down as being known as a great PC port. But he also said that Ubisoft could screw the pooch with a bad patch. So he hedged his bets. Ya boy. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. I'm going to climb up here just for the heck of it. And I really do love that you guys watch these videos. And have yourselves an excellent night. This has been AI Gaming 1776. And I will catch y'all another time. Oh, look, we're at the edge of the map. We are. We're at the... Why did it even let me climb it? Why you do this? Why you do this, Ubisoft? It let me climb it knowing I can't go any further. All right, thanks for watching, guys. Have a good night.